So this week we are talking about proportion. So proportion, you know, hopefully since you looked at the slides, is the size of something compared to something else. So this first could be within an actual object. So I'm trying to draw this mug here. In a perfect world, I would be projecting this like on the actual mug and the Slinky, and also simultaneously like having something filming me as I'm drawing, but I'm not that advanced at my house. Like, for example, this is currently a stand made out of Legos and an old medical tray that I cut in my basement to do this video demo. So we're all riding the struggle bus here. Anyways, so the size of something compared to something else. So if I'm looking at drawing this mug, certainly I could just go shoop, 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 mug. That's a mug, sure, but that mug is not the same proportion as this mug. So size of something compared to something else. So if I kind of take my fingers and go this way and I measure my mug's width and I'm holding that measurement and I look at the height, it's clear that my mug is just ever so slightly taller than it is wide. So this drawing absolutely makes no sense. It's a mug, but it's not my mug. You need to draw what's in front of you. So I want you to pick a mug, or if you don't have a mug, it could be a cup, whatever. And I want you to try to work that into this composition. So looking at the mug, I have my width and my height, so I know that it's a little bit taller than it is wide. And when I go, let's say I have my mug, it's a little bit taller than it is wide, and then I go to put my handle on it, well, that handle makes no sense because this is a way bigger handle than what it is here. So my handle is about this wide. That's about 2 of my width. So if I'm drawing it, I have my handle here, have a handle here, have a handle here. I could fit about 3 handles across my mug. So my width here, this distance wide is about the same distance up to here tall. So in this first composition, I want you to choose a mug, and then I want you to choose an object that's smaller than your mug to start out this drawing. I don't care what this other little object is. Don't make it too complex, like something tiny, like a Lego. Mine's a mini Slinky, whatever. So I want you to draw this. Okay, I'm gonna kind of like try to flip back and forth here because I want to draw it for you and talk about that picture at the same time. All right, so I'm gonna put my midline in here, which we talked about in the last video, so I know that my mug isn't gonna lean. So I'm gonna draw my mug, and I know my width is just a little bit less than my height, so I'm keeping it nice and light here, keeping it sketchy. Like, this obviously has a lot to kind of be refined, but I can kind of double check it. So my width, ever so slightly smaller than my height, and when I go to put my handle on, I know that my handle, I could fit about 2 handles here, and then my real handle on the side. I could fit about 2 handles here, and then my real handle on the side. So I'm making these kind of like measurements within my drawing, and I'm making them really light so that I could go back and change them. So I've got my mug in here. I'm gonna try to draw this darker so it picks up better on the screen. Just drawing it really basic right now. I'd go back to fix some things here. So now I need to draw the object that's smaller than the mug. So looking at this Slinky here, if I have halfway up my mug, that's about right there. That's about where that Slinky is height-wise. The bottom of my Slinky happens to be lined up with the bottom of my mug. I didn't even think about this when I arranged it. That might not be the case for you, but I'm just saying. The height of my Slinky, I can pretty clearly see, is about half the height of my mug. I've already got my mug drawn, So it should be pretty easy to figure out where my slinky's gonna go. So halfway up my mug is here. I'm gonna draw a line over. The bottom of my mug is here. I'm gonna draw a line over. So I know that my slinky has to exist somewhere within that height. Now trying to figure out how far out to put my slinky. Well, my slinky, my width of my slinky, I'm gonna draw it zigzag so we have some kind of line difference going on here. I could fit a slinky about here and here. It happens to be about 2 of my mug. So slinky, slinky. Coincidentally, I could fit about a slinky in between my mug and slinky, and then my actual slinky. So I almost have like 1, 2, 3, 4 spaces here. This might not be the case for you. I'm speaking about my drawing, so you're gonna have to kind of figure this out in terms of, you know, what you chose to draw here. So I have like slinky, slinky, a gap of space where a slinky like could potentially fit, and then my real slinky. So my real slinky is about here, and it's just over there. So currently, I mean, there are some things that are like, I need to overlap my slinky a little bit more with my handle on my mug and like adjust and things like that. But for the most part, this drawing is now proportional to the objects that I was trying to draw. So in a perfect world, ta-da, my drawing would end up looking something like this. It looks nice and clean. I've gone back and I've erased all of that like preparatory work of my measurements and things like that. Note a couple of things about this drawing. I have a midline running through my objects so I know that they're not leaning. My curve of my ellipses at the top matches the curve here at the bottom, which we talked about in that last video. So things are looking pretty good here. So this is your first drawing. Your mug with an object that's smaller.